welcome everyone to episode 1 of the Foster Associates podcast. My name is Ryan Probert. I'm the Alberta product expert and sales rep with the Foster Group. I'm with the namesake of the company, Mr. Sean Foster is my associate, and we're going to share with you a little bit today, history of the company, direction of the company, things that we're seeing locally and nationally. Sean, how are things going with you?
Perfect. Fantastic. Thanks, Ryan. Good intro. So I think what we want to talk about today is just why we decided to start a podcast and what it's all about. It's not just about the podcast. It's about what we've been doing from a digital marketing standpoint. We do a lot of things differently than what other companies do, but we don't do enough about talking about it. So I think that's the whole idea of what we're trying to do is educate people on who is Foster & Associates and what we do differently to set ourselves apart. And really what I'd like to say is, we got a great team around us. We got a team of 12 people right from Montreal all the way into Vancouver. We have product specialists out on the road who go out and touch jobber and dealer calls on a monthly basis. They educate them. They talk about new trends in the marketplace and basically get a lot of feedback that we put into our CRM program that we're able to print those reports off and give them to our industry partners. And just from your standpoint, I mean, obviously you're out in the field a lot, Ryan. How do you feel as though the first quarter's been going?
It's been really busy. Obviously, there's a lot of activity in this quarter, which is seasonally a time where a lot of our jobbers and distributor partners are setting up their inventories for the season. Projections have been difficult over the last couple of years because business has been widely variable by location, by category, by availability of products, price changes, all those things in a lot of cases have stabilized, but it's been a couple of years of inconsistent numbers, inconsistent baselines. So people are having a hard time forecasting into 2024. So I would say overall, there's a conservative optimism in the marketplace, whether it's at the jobber level in retail, even in some of the industrial suppliers that I visit with, they're seeing a higher level of activity from their customers. Certainly we're seeing that in fleet. Business investment in equipment and people is increasing. How that's going to translate into dollars in the box quarter by quarter, I'm not really sure. One of the things we saw was a high level of activity at the RV show that we were recently at. But we had a blizzard today, so camping season might be a little bit delayed.
Right.
So on the distributor level, you're more more involved with the national distribution channels.
Yep.
What are you seeing from those groups, and where's the focus? Where's the growth, and if there's concerns, where are the concerns?
Yeah, I think it's been a slow start retail for the first quarter, but I mean, it usually is. I mean, obviously we're just March 1 here today. So I think we're seeing is our distributor partners have a lot of inventory. It's a matter of getting that inventory off the shelf, right? So it really comes down to a lot of fleet customers out there are starting to ramp up. Obviously weather plays a big part in that. So I think once the spring hits, we're going to see a lot more activity from a fleet perspective. Retail towing is a really big part that kind of gets, I find, the truck accessories and everything off and going. So once the spring hits, people start thinking about camping, they start thinking about towing, and when they do that, they either go get a new vehicle or their existing vehicle, they go and get new airbags put in, hitches put on, tonneau covers, running boards or whatever it may be. So weather does play a big part, and I was talking to somebody in Ontario today, and they're expect to be like 15 degrees. So they're definitely a little bit further ahead than what we are weather-wise. But if anyone knows anything about Alberta, just wait 10 minutes, the weather is going to change, right?
Totally. One of the things that's interesting, you mentioned that in existing vehicles versus new vehicles, the towing segment, whether it's been accessories, like you say, airbags, hitches, covers, all those kinds of things, I am constantly walking into dealerships that have more inventory than I've seen in 3 years.
Right.
And so there's an opportunity with all those new vehicles happening where people maybe have been upfitting or maintaining their vehicles, keeping them maybe a year or two longer than they have been because of instability or unpredictability, economic uncertainty. People didn't feel necessarily job secure. Now that we're sort of maybe coming out of that darker period, I think there's a lot of optimism, and there's a lot of inventory out there. There's a lot of inventory that if it sells, it's ready to be upgraded. So whether it's on the OEM side or on the accessory side, I think there's a lot of encouraging signs that I see out in the marketplace. I'm seeing discounts for the first time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Years.
100%. I mean, read an article, I think it was a couple of days ago, that basically 2024 is going to be one of the best years to buy a vehicle in the past several years because A, there is a lot of inventory, and B, the interest rates are coming down because they're sitting on so much inventory. So there's going to be a lot of incentives to get new vehicles off the lot in a consumer's hands.
I think part of it has been there was a period of time where the competition was amongst consumers to find a vehicle to buy.
Yes.
That momentum has swung back the other way, where now, again, all these vehicles are on lots from all the brands, all the major brands, and they're competing for their customers' business again. So, again, I think there's a great opportunity there. One of the interesting things that I've talked to a lot of people about in both RV and on the vehicle side is installation times, installers, is staffing the shops, having mechanics, where maybe they had to let some people go or people weren't busy enough to keep a full team on during these times when there wasn't vehicles on lots and accessories weren't necessarily in stock. There's a bit of a scramble now in finding people that are qualified to do this work. As the momentum builds and as sales pick up and installations increase, I think we're going to see a demand for people on that side as well.
I agree. I think people is probably one of our biggest challenges going forward. You got a lot of our national partners who are opening up new locations right across Canada, and the biggest struggle is trying to find qualified people to work, whether it be a mechanic, whether it be a front salesperson. We work with some other industry partners that do some unique things where they'll do a interim scholarship for the summertime. Well, they'll bring in a student that's actually in a business program or in a mechanical program, bring them in for the summertime, pay them, but that gets them involved in the industry. And the cool thing about that is a lot of this one big company I'm talking about, the student at the end of his internship before he goes back to school has to write a case study on what would you do to improve the efficiency of inventory coming in and out of the flow of traffic or whatever it may be, but it gives these students something to write about on that company, and it helps them out with their efficiencies.
It's interesting in training and education, in as you said, qualified people, it also helps retain people because they enjoy their job more when they know what they're doing. So some of our industry partners on the RV side specifically that I'm thinking of in providing online training programs and having our national team going out and promoting those training programs to the counter staff, to the management in the locations and saying, hey, this is a brand you already sell and service. It's in the RVs that are on your lot. It's in your counter that you're doing these replacements with. Here's an opportunity for you and your team to learn more about it, be really experts in the field. And that seems to be having great success in short term. I think we'll see more adoption of that in other categories and by competitive brands because it's time extremely well spent.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's tough to sit here and think that today's March 1st already. It's gone by pretty crazy.
We even had a bonus day.
We did. We actually did. 29th. Yeah, with the leap year on that. So what I find unique and crazy about that is we're kind of getting back to like 2018 is what I'm kind of seeing it, where we have customers that want us to go out and do training. We have manufacturers that are putting on sales meetings. We have customers that are doing in-person shows. And nothing against virtual shows, because I think there's a place for virtual shows, but it's tough to sell new products on a virtual show platform.
Absolutely.
Very, very difficult. So we've been busy first 2 months of the year, visiting a lot of customers, doing a lot of training, and going to in-person customer shows, and it's been great to get back after it.
It's interesting. We're in an interesting transitional time right now where when the lights went out in 2019, or 2020 or 20, whenever that was, the dark ages, but when the lights went out, they just went out.
Yeah.
There was no period of time where there was a hybrid of digital events and in-person events. And now we're in that time. There is a mixture of digital meetings or electronic meetings and in-person meetings, digital trade shows, in-person trade shows. And it'll be interesting to see how the effects of that wash out. And I think I agree with you. I mean, everyone in our industry that's writing POs for products that they've purchased before are perfectly comfortable buying those products that they've purchased before.
Yep.
In-person sales gives us an opportunity to show them upgrades to that product or show them new versions of those categories that might be better suited to their customers, provide better value, easier for them to sell and make margin at. There's a bunch of opportunities there, but yeah, it's interesting in the selling experience right now from our side is a mix of both.
Yeah. What I like about to what you're saying is that what we love to do and what we shine at Foster & Associates is going out and touching our customers and educating them so they can educate their customers. And we got away from that, I would say, back when, like you mentioned, the lights went out, is now people are starving for the education, starving to be educated on the new products coming out. What's the new technology? Because if you look at a lot of unique products out there, there's a lot new technology coming out. Whether it be tonneau covers, whether it be, power running boards or airbags or whatever it may be, there's a lot new trends coming down, and it's great that we're able to go out and see our customers and educate them.
Some comments in there about starving and face-to-face meetings, and our meal game has never been stronger at Foster Associates.
I agree with you.
If you get a chance to go for lunch or dinner with us, we do a good job at that. It's one of our real strong suits.
I would agree with that.
we can't pile too many trade shows back to back to back because the belt sizes get changed up a little bit. But
it does for sure.
We're very good at that.
Yeah.
Looking forward into, I guess, the end of Q1, Q2, further into 2024, are there opportunities that you see growing? I certainly see some things changing on a boots on the ground parts counter aspect of things, but I'm interested to find out from you on the larger scale, 30,000 view looking down at the marketplace. What are you seeing as opportunities for the rest of the year?
I would say probably the new products that a lot of these manufacturers are coming out with, the fact that there's a lot more initiative and a lot more innovative products that are coming out. And we talk about where the industry is going today. You're always going to have the bottom ones, you're going to have a middle consumer, and then you're going to have the high-end consumer. If you're going to pick up a new pickup truck today, you can't get into one under $70,000, $80,000 Canadian, somewhere upwards of $90,000 to $100,000. So if someone's going to complain about putting on a truck bed cover worth $2,000 or even upwards of a, let's say an electric one, they're going to be like $3,000, $4,000, and that does sound expensive. But if you got a truck that's $100,000, it's really not that big of a deal. So I do think that market trend, you're still going to have that higher end person that's going to be okay buying higher end, good quality product that comes with a warranty backed up. It's installed by a professional installer, and it's a brand they can trust. That market, I think, is continually get stronger. The middle of the road, I think, is still going to be there. And at the bottom one, we just need to educate those customers on why would you buy a branded product over a product that's non-branded that may come from overseas. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that you got a brand you can trust and you have warranty on that. That's why we go and buy some of the big brands that we buy, whether it be your iPhones of the world or whatever computer you're buying. We buy those brands because we trust them, and we need to instill that confidence in our people to educate their consumers why.
Interesting. In going back to supply chain and products on shelves and full inventory, for the first time in several years, we have an opportunity to actually tell that good, better, best story amongst all the brands that we sell. We were talking earlier about hard folding covers and soft folding covers, and not necessarily from one brand or the other, because for a period of time, you were buying what you could get.
Yep.
Now, when you can get everything or close to everything again, and there's new, as you mentioned, new products coming online at the top and middle and bottom of the scale, we need to go out and be at the counter and educating the staff and saying, hey, if this is important to your customer, if security is important to your customer, here are the security features of this particular category. This is the best run. This is the next best one. This is the next best one after that. If load bearing, if weight capacity is another, or expansion or stretching or moving things around, whatever is most important to your customer, for a period of time, it didn't really matter because they couldn't really choose. They just bought what they could get. Now we're at a point where we're back having those sales conversations, and we need to educate our people, and by thus our customers' people at the counter and on the floor, to be able to tell that story and really narrow into what's best for that customer and point them in the right direction, because there are going to be competitive products at similar price points. Which one might have the best features or benefits for that customer? That's what we do best.
100%. That kind of speaks back to like the history of Foster & Associates. So we've been in business for over 30 years. My dad started our company. This is a small little Western Canadian company. And then Brent got involved basically because he didn't have any education. No, I'm kidding. He went back to school and couldn't find a job right off the bat. So he ended up coming in and setting up my dad's compact Presario. If you remember the old compacts, sure. Basically to come with a fax cover sheet. So that's how Brent got involved in the business. And then I came from the telecom industry in Vancouver, and we had an opportunity to expand our business into Alberta. So Sean picked up and moved out here with his wife, my wife, and we had some kids, and we made Calgary our home. And since that, we expanded our business right across Canada. We have 2 guys that speak au français in Quebec. We got gentlemen in Ontario, or in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, you here in Alberta. We got a digital marketing and data analyst guy by the name of Daniel that does a fantastic job for us. We got 3 people in BC, so I'm kind of rambling a bit, but where I'm going with that is that we've really expanded our business because we see a need that our distributor partners we have a great relationship with, but we have to get out and educate their customers. And when we can educate their customers, that's where we all win.
It's a very difficult or complicated story to tell sometimes about Foster & Associates, and it's taken me a couple of years to figure out how to explain best, in my opinion, what we do, and because I don't think anybody else is out there putting product into the pipeline from the manufacturers into the distribution chain and then standing at the counter and educating the staff on how to pull it out the other end. We're maintaining the pipeline from glacial headwaters to the ocean, and I don't think anybody else is really doing that, so it's a bit of a story to tell. In the digital world you were mentioning, and Daniel on the ones and twos, thanks for taking care of us today. Where do you see the expansion? What do you think the opportunities are? Is there a particular motivation? This is episode 1 of our podcast. Is there a particular motivation that we're going in this direction?
That's a great question. I think at the end of the day, we never talked about what we did in the marketplace, right? We just quietly went out there, promoted our brands, and just did what we did. So I think the purpose of getting into this digital space is just to educate people on what we do, and hopefully we can turn this into a more educational podcast where we can talk about products, we can talk about trends, and maybe people want to listen to us because they find us interesting, right? But who knows at the end of the day. So I think from a digital marketing standpoint, that's where a lot of the marketplace is going. So as we're out doing our calls, educating people, I'd love for us to do more content marketing to let people know what we are doing and maybe try to get some awareness out there from a consumer standpoint.
I think it's a great tool to use to promote our value on all aspects of that pipeline that I mentioned. There is value to having boots on the ground. There's value to having factory reps that are moving product into the distribution channels that we have great relationships with, and it's difficult to tell that story. So I think the digital platform is a great place to do that, and I think a podcast is a good start.
I agree.
Going back to the distribution channels, if we're going to see new products, new categories coming online in 2024, is there anything that we should be specifically looking at? Do you see growth in certain categories in those distribution channels? Oh,
that's a great question. I think our biggest challenge / opportunity in 2024 is to educate our customers so they can educate their customers on why to go after the top brands. So for example, one of the big brands out there in the marketplace is a brand called Real Truck. Real Truck's a big company out there that has multiple brands, whether it be on a truck accessory standpoint, whether it be tonneau covers, whether it be Jeep and off-road. And I think just educating people on that as well. Firestone's, another big brand out there, and educating those people on why you would buy that brand over an import brand. Sure. So those are just a couple brands that I mentioned. I think trend that I see is just more education, and why would you pay more money for a top-end brand? And us as being where we are in our particular spot in life is I don't mind spending more money for something if I know it's going to last longer, if it's got a good brand behind it, and if I have a warranty behind it. So I think that's the education, the opportunity I see in the marketplace today. I totally agree. I think building value isn't necessarily, value is features divided by price, benefits divided by price. And so just because something costs more doesn't mean it's a lesser value. Just because something is less expensive doesn't mean it's a better value. Exactly. It's a matter of what's important to the customer and what those features and benefits cost. And it certainly can be a premium product and still be a better value. I agree. I think Rhino Rack is an excellent example of that, is in particular as a brand that we built a relationship with during the struggles of supply chains, the struggles of shipping and materials and all those kinds of things. We have this sort of a bull in a china shop of a brand that's just ready to explode. But we haven't been able to tell the story that well because it's been challenging to get the products in place, get the pricing set up, get it stabilized to a point where a distributor partner can feel comfortable pricing those products out, presenting it to a retailer or a jobber, and doing that. And so
I think this is the first opportunity we have to really present that pipeline of opportunity from the start to the finish with some of the brands that we've built relationships with over the last couple of years. So
yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. So I think in closing, what sets us apart is our passion. One thing I would say is that I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a big off-road guy, I'm not a big RV guy, but I'm passionate about sales, I'm passionate about the industry, and I'm passionate about our team that we have. So I think, that's what kind of sets us apart. And then we actually get out on the road, we call on our customers, we call on our customers' customers, and then we enter that into our CRM program so we can actually have a bunch of data that we can actually provide our manufacturer partners, and we can talk about it with a team. And that's highly important. We have a weekly team meeting, and I think it's important to get a perspective of what Ben is doing in the East as opposed to what Brent is doing in BC, as opposed to what Jesse's doing in Winnipeg, and bring us all together, I think makes us a better company and makes us stronger for our industry partner.
totally agree. I think the value of Foster is a difficult thing to get your arms around when you first get to work with us in any of those aspects. So I think a podcast like we're doing here today is a chance for customers to get to know us and what we do and the value proposition that we present and the work that we're doing. So in closing, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Thanks. We look forward to doing episode 2 for y'all. And from Calgary, Alberta, this is Foster & Associates, podcast number 1.